period after a day off, you guys are full of energy, vibrant, and things like that. So I wanted to show you guys a video first off to kind of get us back into the swing of things. So this is obviously a warm-up activity. I'm showing students a video from YouTube, and whether they know it or not, this is actually a commercial. You'll see later on what the commercial is about. Now, the learning objective here, and the reason why I'm using commercial, is because I want students to follow the lesson to be able to identify and use persuasive techniques in multimedia. As this is a humanities class, it is half English and half social studies. So the English element here, the English benchmarks or standards here, are to analyze and evaluate the effectiveness of a structure of an author the author uses in his or her exposition or argument, including whether or not the structure makes points clear, convincing, and engaging. Also, to determine an author's point of view or purpose in a text, and analyze how an author uses rhetoric to advance that point of view or purpose. So those are common core standards which both cover, again, social studies and English. Now the tool that I chose to use, and you'll see later on, is that not only did I choose to use YouTube and videos and commercials, but I put them all in Padlet, and we've talked about that in class before. This is a tool where you can basically use it like a blank sheet of paper, and it's kind of like a wall. And so I've been able to post certain videos so that are prepared, so students are not wasting time trying to find videos, or I'm trying to send them an email and they have to check their email and things get lost. I know these students, and I know that oftentimes they can easily be distracted or waste a lot of time or just stall just because they can. And you know, in order to keep them engaged, and they do want to be engaged, and these are good students, but really you have to keep on top of them with these students. And because it is a one-to-one environment where every student has their own device, it's very easy for a student to become easily distracted. And so by putting everything on the wall, on the Padlet, it just puts it all in one place. Everyone goes to the same Padlet, and then they just click on the video that they want to watch. Another reason why I chose to use Padlet is because as a new teacher, it's very easy for me to become distracted. I'm thinking about using EIL techniques, thinking about literacy techniques, thinking about proximity to my students, classroom management, thinking about where we're headed next, thinking about where we just came from, and really the last thing that I need to really think about is procedure. And so with the Padlet, you can organize it all in advance, all ahead of time, and really we go there and you can see everything, you can see all your resources, and you know exactly what you're going to do next. If you didn't already click on the link, I just want to let you watch the rest of this video so you know what this commercial is about. So following the motivation activity, we now move into direct instruction, where I actually teach the actual material. What are the actual persuasive techniques that we just watched, that there is out there, and I use different examples, both from, again, YouTube, as well as other sources such as billboards and other images that I've all just put into a PPT basically, and then we as a class have a chance to discuss it. Once we have all watched and talked about what are the persuasive techniques, and we have identified them together and done guided practice, I then give the students their own commercial to watch, which I put again on Padlet, and they put them into groups. So they are doing group work, which again looks at
or uses the social cultural learning theory, because they're learning from each other, and the expectations and the motivations and the modeling all happens when they're working together. This also, of course, supports weaker students and differentiates for both gifted students as well as those who are struggling. Also, the use of video is very helpful for EAL learners, because EAL learners need a lot of context. And so we've showed a lot of videos, and now here we are. We've talked about them, and now they have a chance, again, within the same context, really to do the same skill and apply the same skill to something just new. So here, again, we're watching a different commercial. The students are now, that they watched, and now they're going to dissect it and talk about what learning techniques, what persuasive techniques that they've seen, and you'll have a chance for them to demonstrate what they've learned, and a chance for me to have a formative assessment to see what they've learned.
What do you guys think? Good to see.
I totally agree. Okay.
We thought that they were using bandwagons because the people in the video look like they're having a really good time, and that they were all using Surface Pros, which they all liked it, and it's good for or anything person.
Great. Great identification, right? Definitely that right in here. And you notice like how you can take it apart and you can interact with the people and right. What about the purpose and audience? What are they trying to do?
They're trying to sell the Surface Pro, and I would say it's generally to the average person, because if it was marketed specifically for business people, it'd be a lot more professional per se. And this, it just looks like they're using it to have a good time even while they're meant to be doing work.
And also, the device itself has really good ability, which means like they can actually take off the monitors and they play it like the iPad, and also like they can use it.
It's pretty clear that the students have learned different persuasive techniques, that they've learned how to identify them. And again, I want them to not only learn how to identify them, but how to use them. And that's something I'm not able to assess in this lesson, but later on when they do their persuasive op docs or opinion documentaries about different world events or different human rights issues, I do have a chance to assess that. Now, what I learned is I learned a lot about classroom pace, about engagement. I learned that as long as you keep the students engaged, that classroom management is really not a big issue. That as long as it's something that they feel that they are personally invested into, they will really work hard to master a skill. And so here I think I had a chance to kind of see that.
Yes, I heard alcohol and beer, and it's definitely true. They use it a lot. Right? Was there another technique? I didn't put it up here, but is there something else that has alcohol and beer?
You're gonna die if you smoke.
Well, the cornflakes, when they have cornflake ad, with the tiger on it, they always play soft.
Oh, Frosty.
Okay, frosted flakes.
Okay. Okay, good. But I guess what I'm asking is there another technique? I didn't put it up here, but another small technique that alcohol companies use a lot of also. Any guesses? I'll give you guys a hint.
Bro, hiring people.
Yeah, like makeup.
Right, sex appeal, okay? So that's definitely a technique, okay? Definitely used, okay?
Something else I learned is that it's very important to educate and not entertain. So even though this video that they're about to watch, everyone loves it, there still is an educational purpose.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if we stop using lady-scented body wash and switch to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat. Your man could smell it. What's in your hand? Back at me. I am. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamond. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
I'm on a horse.
Okay.
Can I have
Yes.
I didn't really record it here, but another thing that I learned was that the first video that we watched, the motivation activity, the commercial that we watched, the first video I watched I had uploaded was actually had French subtitles, and that kind of covered up the English subtitles, and so I actually had to go back and find another clip very quickly, but I didn't want to let on that this was a Pantene Pro V shampoo commercial. So I had to be very creative about how I use my keyword searches and keyword term searching to find something on YouTube while the students were watching me. So this is one of those things where I feel like everybody is learning about technology and what happens when it fails or what happens when something goes wrong. And I definitely had a chance to learn that. And try to scramble last minute. So it was only about a 30-second disruption, and I just learned that, as long as you are explaining to the students what's going on, they're very patient, and you just hopefully just get it fixed within about a minute or two, which is what happened in this case. Lastly, we've been talking about how to use technology to bridge the gap, and here's something that I could have easily done the whole thing on my phone with an Elmo. I could have used magazines to teach the same thing.